his devotion and service to the Reds during his 6 seasons as our manager. David and his wife, Christy, did so much to improve the culture in our clubhouse and to help build community for our players and coaches and their families. We are extremely grateful for the foundation the Bells have created on which we will continue to build. As Terry knows, having been a player for the Reds in 1987, Cincinnati is an incredible baseball city with 155 years of baseball history and fans who have loved and supported the Reds for generations. Terry, you know we love our fans here in Cincinnati, and I know for a fact they are going to love you. So let's get things started. I'm going to have Dad and Terry and Nick come up, and let's present Terry with his Reds manager jersey. Brad, if you can assist as well. Here we go. Let's make it official. Okay, before we get started, let's walk through some stats about Terry Francona. As a major league manager, Terry has 1,950 career wins over 23 seasons, the 13th highest wins of all time. Terry's won 2 World Series with the Red Sox, including breaking the curse in his first season with the club in 2004. He led Cleveland to the World Series in 2016. In his 23 managerial seasons, Terry has had 17 winning seasons, including 16 straight from 2004 to 2011, 2013 to 2020, 12 90-win seasons, 11 playoff appearances, and he is a 3-time Manager of the Year. And in his 10-year career as a Major League player, he hit 274 career at 1,800 plate appearances and played in 6 different positions. I had a longer list of stats that I was going to read off, and Terry said, let's just stop at the 6 positions. His numbers confirm his greatness in baseball, his legacy well established in other markets. We look forward to Terry adding to his success here in Cincinnati. Please join me in welcoming the next manager of the Cincinnati Reds, Terry Francona.
Phil, thank you so much. Special thanks to Bob, Phil, Nick, and Brad. Especially Bob, thanks for being here. I know you changed your plans to be here. It means a lot to me, so thank you so much. Marty, can you believe I'm standing here? I know. I am so honored to rejoin the Reds family, spending the 87 season here. I quickly learned how important not just baseball, but the Reds are to this area. For anybody of an age that can remember the 87 season, I apologize in advance. That was a team that featured some young players like Eric Davis, Barry Larkin, Tracy Jones, Kurt Stillwell, Paul O'Neill. That's just to name a few. And for as much as I revered Pete, and I revered Pete, I kind of blame him. I thought he played me a little too much. That talented group reminds me a lot of the group we have here now, talented and athletic. And I am so excited and fired up to get out to Goodyear and start to work with the staff and the players. I need to keep reminding myself, you know, they just got done with the grind of a really long year. And I spent the year away from baseball, leading a semi-normal life, trying to get healthy. So I need to remind myself that. Saying that, that won't stop me. I've reached out to every single player, I believe every single staff member, support staff, and will continue to do so. Matter of fact, I think I've reached out to quite a few American citizens and spread the word of Reds baseball. When Brad sent me the phone list, I don't think he realized my age or my eyesight. Look at that. I had two people tell me they really didn't give a hoot about the Reds baseball, and I realized that they weren't any of our players or anybody within the organization. I firmly believe players enjoy being coached as long as there's always a solid reason and you're ultra organized, and that we will be. My promise to the organization and to the fans is that I'll spend all my energy ensuring that they spend all their energy trying to play the game correctly and with respect. One of my biggest goals is to have our players feel like they're cared for more than ever before, but at the same time asking more of them on the field than's ever been done before. We need to find ways to value what it takes to be successful and win more than every other team we compete against. That is a formidable task. If it wasn't, everybody would win. But that's our goal starting from day one. I'm personally aware just how much the Bell name means in Cincinnati, from Gus to Buddy to David. And I'm honored to continue and building on David's legacy of the positive culture. I tell our players all the time, and I'll be telling our players all the time, we need to spend our energy picking each other up, never tearing each other apart, and that modesty isn't a four-letter word. But let me be crystal clear about this. I will openly brag and boast about this fact. I guarantee you I have set the record in the National League and the American League for being around good people. And today just continues that trend. Whenever I have the privilege to speak somewhere at a banquet or something, I am always the quickest speaker. I do not intend to alter that trend today, but I will be happy to try to answer any questions, talk some baseball, do whatever you want to do. But I really mostly just want to tell you how honored I am to be here, and thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to being a Red. Thank you. Okay.
All right, Jamie Ramsey has a mic right here, so if you've got questions, let's start them off right over here. Trent, you go first.
Terry, what was it about this opportunity that brought you out of retirement, and did you believe that you were going to manage again?
Sorry, say that one more time, sir.
What brought you out of retirement?
Oh.
Test.
Sorry, there we go, that's on. What was it about this team that piqued your interest and made you feel that this was the opportunity, and did you foresee yourself managing again?
I honestly didn't see myself managing again. I had a really good year away from the game. I needed to step away. I didn't step away because I didn't love the game. I stepped away because I didn't think I was doing the job up to the caliber I thought was necessary. Part of it's health, and a lot of it was health, and it was getting in the way. And as a manager, when you start becoming short, losing patience, it's not healthy. And I didn't want to shortchange the organization. So when I stepped away, I didn't think about managing a whole lot this year. And then when the Reds reached out, I started looking at the team a little more closely, and they came out to visit, and it just felt right. And it felt right kind of pretty close to the beginning of the meeting. We probably talked for 5 hours, and I was kidding, my palms were sweating, like I started getting, like I was like wanting to put my uniform on. So it just felt right.
Over here.
Terry, one of the buzzwords ever since the move with David was made was accountability and having accountability for this team. You talked about the talent, the athleticism, what this team has. How do you manage accountability with a young roster?
I don't know if I could give you that answer today. And the reason being is I'm not trying to cop out of not giving you an answer. But until you meet players, until you meet the staff, you have to build relationships with guys. Inevitably, when you're in a position of leadership, you're going to have to tell some guys things they don't want to hear. But the best way I know to do that is to develop a relationship built on honesty and trust. And that's the best way I know how to do it. And you got to remember, I mean, I've spent my entire life in a baseball locker room, in a clubhouse. There's no place I'm more comfortable. So having the conversations is maybe easier for me than maybe somebody coming in from outside. It's where I'm comfortable.
Terry, your accolades were listed earlier. So much success as a manager. What do you feel like you have left to prove with this ball club?
I don't think it matters what you've done in the past. In our game, you earn your stripes every day. That's how I've always felt. I hate the saying, "I've arrived." We're all still arriving, and continue. And the day you stop, people are going to pass you right by.
Here's Gordon.
Yeah, Terry, you mentioned David Bell and the Bell family. You've got a relationship with Buddy in particular, right? When this process was starting to go down fast, how much did you process that, and have you reached out to David or Buddy and talked to them?
No, I haven't. I'm sure there's probably mixed feelings, from Buddy, which I totally understand. Buddy's like my big brother. So much of how I view the game of baseball came through Buddy. He hired me as a minor league manager with the White Sox. He hired me as a third base coach with the Detroit Tigers. So he's like my big brother. So regardless of where I work or who I work for, he will always be my big brother.
Terry, this organization hasn't won a playoff series since 1995. Were you given any promises that they will put certain players on the field for you, or did you ask for that? Did you ask for them to go out and get X amount of players before you took the job?
Never even brought it up. We're going to start our meetings this afternoon after I get rid of this and put on something I can actually breathe in. You're gonna hopefully find. I hope you never hear me talk about payroll, things like that. What I care about is the players that we have, trying to get them to be the best baseball team they can be. Whether they're 20, whether they're 30, or whether they're 40. And there'll never be an excuse when we play a game or lose a game on our youth or our payroll. Once the game starts, it doesn't matter. And again, I know what my job is, and I don't need to be the general manager. I don't need to be the president. I just want to try to be the best manager I can be.
Terry, congrats. What's your challenge for Ellie De La Cruz when you sit down and have, maybe you've already had this conversation, out of the gate for this young shortstop?
I spoke to him like I did everybody the last couple of days. And again, it's my biggest goal is to get to know guys. Because if you come in going 110 miles an hour, again, you got to see what makes people tick and how the best way to get to people. The goal is for our ball club to play aggressively and intelligently. One without the other doesn't really work very well. So spring training will probably have a little bit more priority on doing those types of things, getting to know each other, because I think the best way for them to play is not for me to tell them to go from point A to B to C. It's to kind of let them be loose and free, but also playing the game correctly.
Terry, welcome back.
Thanks.
Yes, you obviously have managed in Philadelphia, Boston, Cleveland, very different markets, all of them, but you have core principles as a manager. How are you going to establish those with a new team and set championship expectations?
Well, I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal every year, and that's why I started reaching out to the players right away. I don't want to use it as an excuse that I'm new or we don't know each other. I need to get to know these guys fast, because the more you get to know them, like I said earlier, I think players like being coached. I think they enjoy working hard, but you got to be organized, and we will be, and we'll get after it. But you know, people talk about having fun. What I think is being enjoyable is playing the game right, and to be honest, trying to kick somebody's ass. That's what I think is enjoyable.
How's it going? What specifically were your impressions of the roster as you started this process, and how big was your confidence in the roster in your decision to take the job?
Say the last part again.
How big was your confidence in the roster in your decision to take the job?
This is an extremely talented young team. That excites me a lot. Talking to them on the phone, I got pretty fired up. They seem like terrific kids, and they seem eager. And again, this is a week after a long season. I had to remind myself that, you know, I'm all wound up and, you know, I'm ready to go right now. And these guys just got done playing a long year, and they were terrific to a person.
Terry, welcome to Cincinnati. You mentioned that you reached out to some of the staff members. Are there any existing relationships with anybody else in the organization? And have you, or the gentleman to your side, made any decisions about any guys specifically that would be retained in some way?
We need to start. We've obviously talked a little bit, but we didn't want to get ahead of ourselves. Colin, who's here today, actually was with me for a little bit in Cleveland. I don't want to leave anybody out just because my world is going a little bit fast right now. I know the clubbies. I know Mark and Rick. When I used to, in '87, when I used to pinch hit and I'd make a quick out, like I was really good at that. And Rick, Mark, and Bernie, I would come in to take my shoes off and put my turfs on, and they would be standing at the door. This is at the old riverfront. And I'd be dragging in with my bat and my glove, and they'd be waiting in there like this every time. So it's like they're like family.
Terry, you're respected by veteran players, younger players, wherever you've been. When you're talking with a young clubhouse, what is your style if a guy repeatedly makes mistakes, makes base running mistakes, fielding mistakes? Are you a guy that benches a guy? Do you pull him behind a closed door and let him have it? Or what is your style when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I've probably done a little bit of both of those. Again, until you know who you're dealing with, I don't think there's a blanket way of saying you're going to deal with something. I do know when something goes wrong, my goal is to not have it go wrong again. If you get in the habit of meeting a player at the top step of the dugout, he's all amped up from the game. He's probably mad. I'm mad. You're going to butt heads. Okay, that's not really going to accomplish much, except maybe have an eruption. The goal is to just not have it done, the mistake happen over and over, and that's on me to figure out how to do that.
Terry, you said you were intrigued by the roster, and you said the whole process felt right, but what convinced you, and what personal boxes did you have to check that convinced you that it would feel right for the next 3+ years? What point did you have to get to personally to know that you could sustain the excitement that you obviously feel about the team right now?
That's actually the easiest question I've had yet. People. When Nick and Brad came out, it felt good right away. I mean, they were sitting on my couch, and my couch is broken, and Nick's sitting down into the couch, and, it's like, it just felt good. And, the last 11 years for me in Cleveland, I loved the people I worked with. And these guys reminded me so much of them that it just felt comfortable right away.
I'm going to go with Nick and Brad for once. You two, when did you think that hiring Tito was a possibility, and was this top of the list? And obviously it came together quickly, so there wasn't much of a list?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was definitely a list. We let David go on a Sunday night. We got together on Monday, and then on the road, met with all the players and staff while we were on the road. And then, I actually talked to Marty. Marty reached out and connected Terry and I, and reached out to, hey, would you have interest? And he said, yeah. So we talked about meeting somewhere, and Brad and I just decided we're going to go out to Tucson, and we went out to Tucson, and I didn't know when it was a possibility. There was a feeling out process, I guess, but when we sat down and started talking, it just seemed really natural. A great conversation right from the beginning, and I felt good almost out of the chute. And when Terry started using we in the conversation, I was like, man, we're on the same page here. And I mean, it was Brad and I think, I don't want to put words in Brad's mouth, but we walked out of there, and it was kind of a similar feeling right out of the gate.
Yeah, nothing really to add. I think the more we spoke to people, we went to Cleveland, obviously, which helped because we got to speak to a lot of Cleveland people. I spent a lot of time with Tom Hamilton there, and I've known Tom forever. And the more people we spoke to between Cleveland and the Chicago trip, the more it felt like Tito not only was at the top of the list, but had really separated himself at the top of the list. And, by the time he agreed to meet with us, Nick and I said, we just got to go. We need to get out there. We need to do it as soon as possible. And like these guys have said, that when we sat down and started talking, the more he talked, the more he got on the edge of his seat, the more you could see, like, okay, this guy's ready to manage again. So that took that question out of it. We talked about the health. We joked about it, but he did offer to jump up and do jumping jacks if we needed him to. And,
Thank God they didn't ask me to do that.
So like they said, I mean, the more we talked, the more it just felt like a natural fit, and it was an easy conversation.
Terry, as someone who's had as much success as you've had as a manager, what would you define as success in year one as the Reds manager?
I think you need to be careful answering something ahead. I really believe, in baseball, you try to learn from your mistakes and move on quickly. If you don't, you kind of get like a hangover effect. If you look too far ahead, you miss what's right in front of you. In our game, you don't know what's good, injury-wise. If you lose your entire starting staff, you know what, your goals may change a little bit. That's why I just want to try to get the most out of everybody that comes through our door. Like in spring training Goodyear, if we have 65 guys, there's going to be a number of non-roster, there's going to be some young kids. 26 are going to make our ball club on opening day, but it's our responsibility to try to get the most out of everybody that comes through those doors, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about the off-season, your first time away from the game for a long time. Did you follow the game closely, like on television or anything like that?
I found myself watching more baseball this year than I probably have in a long time. Got to be the last couple of years in Cleveland, I'd watch like the team we were going to play next, just out of habit. This year, I certainly watched Cleveland play a lot because I was still technically I'm not even sure what my title was, but I had something there. And then I'd turn on a game, like, I had the baseball channel, and I'd turn on, I'd see like, oh, the Angels are 3-3 in the 8th, and I'd turn that game on. Just to, so I probably watched more baseball this year than I have in a while.
What do you remember from opening day '87, and how important to you are the traditions that have carried on here in Cincinnati?
What I remember about opening day is, one, I was in the lineup, and I wasn't expecting to be. I remember telling Buddy Bell, I'm like, God, Buddy, I wanted to make the team. I didn't know if I want to play. And then I actually hit a home run on opening day. And then from there, the season kind of went downhill for pretty much the whole year.
Yeah, Terry, we heard a lot about your health coming out of last season. What's your health like now? You look like you've slimmed down quite a bit. And did I read right? Did you have surgery in the offseason? Also, just a follow-up to that. After going through this process, do you think you'll actually ever retire?
Okay, now you got to know your audience. Go one at a time. I'll never remember the second question.
The health.
Yeah, my health. You know what? It's real. I mean, I've had a lot of things go wrong. God, and I didn't even really play that much. If I'd have played a lot, I'd probably really be a mess. But I took care of myself this year, and I had gotten into a routine or a habit where I'd have a surgery when the season was over. I'd work real hard, and then I'd get beat up again when the season started. Being away for a year, it allowed me to take care of myself, probably for the first time. And I did, and I lost weight, and I still have a ways to go. But I feel like I'm in a position where I can have enough energy to do the job the way I think you're supposed to. Because that wasn't how it was at the end in Cleveland. And like I said, I felt like I was shortchanging people.
Yeah, so the follow-up to that is, as good as you feel now and going through this process, you think you'll actually retire from baseball at some point for real?
You know, I don't think I'll ever fully get out of baseball. I don't think I ever wanted to. You know, the managing part, you know, like I said, I don't look too far ahead. I just try to kind of do what I'm supposed to right now and see how long that goes. But, you know, and health certainly plays a part in that. But as long as I love the challenge and I'm able to do it, I don't think we need to talk about retirement.
Terry, you and Marty have maintained a great relationship over the years. Can you talk about your relationship with him, what it's meant to you, and also did he play a role in you taking this job?
So Marty and Amanda actually came out to my house in February, and we played some golf, and you know, obviously had some laughs and caught up and everything. A lot of people probably don't know this, but in '04, when we were making our run into the World Series, Marty would leave me these messages. And I'm trying to think how to say this. If I played him in public, he'd probably get arrested. And I would play him on the bus, put it on the speaker on the bus, and play it for the coaching staff. And by the time we got to the hotel or the ballpark, they would be in tears. They'd be like, "He's your friend?" It was priceless.
Terry, we've seen in the recent years Bruce Bochy come out of retirement, win a World Series, Dusty Baker win a World Series. What is it about managers like yourself and those guys that have experience that are still able to play in today's game and follow through and win?
Well, I think it's probably different everywhere. Everybody's situation is different. In the case of those guys, they're really good, and they've been good for a long time, and they have really good teams. You saw this year, like, you know, Bochy, they took a step back. They had so many injuries, they took a step back. He's still one of the greatest managers that's ever been. Again, I don't think it matters your age as long as you have the energy and the ability to do what's necessary in today's job.
Terry, what kind of impact did Pete have in that 1987 season on you?
Well, you got to remember, see, I played with Pete in 1984 in Montreal. And, you know, anybody that is a teammate of Pete's, you know, we were young. It was Wallach and myself and Brad Mills. We thought Pete walked on water. And as a teammate, you know, he treated us kids like gold. So when I came over to play, I came over as a non-roster and actually made the team. Part of what hurt me so much is I felt like I let Pete down because I was so bad. because he had put his faith in me. You know, and I know what Pete means to this area. And, you know, I know there's some things that are hard to figure out, but, and I'm pretty honest about it, I have zero ability to not be biased when it comes to Pete, just because of my feelings for him.
How similar are your philosophies on player development and managing and the modern game with the front office, and how do you see yourself, you know, having the conversations and figuring out how you guys are going to do things together?
Well, we're going to get started on that this afternoon. You know, we don't need to make out the lineup for March 27th today. But what we do is start to be prepared, and, you know, there's steps along the way during the winter as you get ready for a season, but we don't need to make the lineup out today. That doesn't make any sense. But biggest thing I do is do a lot of listening and get up to speed as quick as I can, so that's never an excuse that I'm new.
Anybody else? All right, that's the end of the press conference. Thank you for coming out.
Careful, I know.